Yes, speaking with the angels. So we're talking about a personal experience of the divine today. That is the title of my talk, and our monthly theme for this month is realizing the power of the mind. Realizing the power of the mind. And we're continuing to explore our global vision of a world that works for everyone. And so the quote for today is, "We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence." We feel that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. So what does that mean? What it means is that we may have grown up with this idea that God is out there somewhere. That God's sitting up on a cloud in heaven, watching all of us and going, "Oh, that wasn't right," or "No, that's not good." And, just sort of not interfering, but just sort of judging everything. And then depending on how well we perform, how well we do, we may end up on a cloud with him somewhere, or we may end up in another place that's not so pleasant. And so what we came up to believe was that God was not here because we weren't worthy. At least that's what I was told. Every Sunday, we had a bell ring and we had to beat our chest and say, "I'm not worthy." And believe me, I knew I wasn't worthy because I did all kinds of stuff to my little sisters. And then I found out through this philosophy that God wasn't out there. That God was right here. And it resonated. It was something I had known all along, that there was something here in me. Something good was here. It was that little conscience that said, you really shouldn't do that to your little sister. That's really not nice. But, I was caught up in my stuff. And then I realized, there's something here present in me that is connected to life, all of life. And that because it's connected to all of life, that means I'm connected to all of life. All of us interconnected, all of us in this energy field. The quantum field, we talk about in the quantum, everything is not about particles, it's about the relationship between the particles. That's what brings things together, is relationship. And so all of us are creating the world together through our conscious and unconscious thoughts and beliefs. Now, the problem is that we have taken on the accumulated thoughts, doubts, fears, beliefs of all of our ancestors. They're all in this mix that we call the collective unconscious. That's what Jung called it. We have this collective unconscious, and we're all bringing that along. It's sort of the baggage that we carry through our culture, through our families, through our history, through our entertainment, through everything. We get the reinforcement of the thoughts that have already been thought that we think we have to think because that's what the truth is, because somebody thought that once and told us it was the truth, and so we believed them. And now we realize, wait a minute. I have a choice about what I want to think now. I have a choice about what I want to think about my life now, about my past, about my present, and about my future. I get to decide, am I going to carry around the hurts of my past? Am I going to stay the victim of whatever happened to me in the past? And we have all had stuff happen to us. Some of it horrific, unforgivable. And yet, we have the choice to forgive. And by forgive, I mean to bring our energy fully into the present, to let go of the past, to let go of whatever it was, because the only way it's still happening is in our mind. It's done. It's finished. But if we keep carrying it around in our mind and replaying that tape over and over again, you know what we're doing? We are activating all of those chemicals in our bodies that reacted at the time through all of that angst and all of that fear and all of that whatever it was. We're reactivating it again, releasing all these toxic chemicals into our bodies. So we are poisoning ourselves. And there is no need for it. If we can just breathe, release, see where it lives in our body and let it go. Thank it for being there at the time and letting it go again and again and again. Every time it comes up, we let it go again, because we want to have all of our energy available for here. This is where we live. In this moment, this one moment right now is the only moment we have. This one. And if we can be present to it, we can experience heaven on earth. If we can be present to it. I was telling my class, when Erica and Lisa were here back in January, I was honored to go to dinner at the Wade's home with Lisa and Erica. And we were having dinner, and after dinner, Lisa and I were sitting across from each other talking, and she just said, let's stop and appreciate this moment. This wonderful meal, this wonderful conversation, this beautiful place that we're in. Let's just stop and be present in it. How frequently do we stop in the moment and say, I'm really here now, and the rain is coming down and it's beautiful, and the blossoms somehow survive the rain even though the big trees fell down. Here is the blossom, the tender, fragile little blossom is still there after that pouring rain and that howling wind. How is that? What a miracle. The miracle of life is continuing right here and right now if we're present to it, if we're available to it. Some people say that this is their favorite book of Ernest Holmes. It's called This Thing Called You. This Thing Called You. And it starts out, it says, you, like all others, are seeking the joy of living. You wish to be needed, to be loved, to be included in the great drama of life. This urge exists in every individual. It is in everything. The rose exists to express beauty. Root and branch conspire with nature to give birth to blossom. An artist will starve in his garret that he may chisel an angelic form from a slab of marble, compelling the unyielding substance to accept his breath of creation. Not only human beings, but everything in nature is endowed with this creative urge. When moisture is precipitated in the desert, The desert receives it with gladness and breaks forth into a song of creation. And we know that's happening right now. There's a beautiful bloom going on right now in Death Valley. Making the most of its brief season, it blossoms in joy, storing within its bosom the seed of a future flowering. It is impossible to escape this creative urge. Everything must find fulfillment or perish. Everything must find fulfillment or perish. And in the Gospel of Thomas, he says, if you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you. So our role is to connect with that which is within us, to connect with that which gives us life, that serves us, and to listen to it, to listen to that voice of intuition. Now, we're all born with instinct. You know, I remember driving down the road on Highway 80 on a rainy day with a car from a business meeting with a car full of coworkers, you know, driving down the road, pouring rain, Highway 80 right by the Berkeley area, heavy traffic, and boom, this truck in front of me dropped something right in front of me on the highway. And I immediately swerved to the left and swerved around the truck, back to the right, and just kept driving. It was like instinct, action, reaction, right? Now, I was very fortunate that there was not a car in the next lane. Because one time that I did my instinct thing, I was driving down the highway and my car started hydroplaning into the oncoming lane. And what did I do? I swerved to get out of that lane and ran into a concrete embankment and rolled the car. Fortunately, I was okay, total daddy's Cadillac, but thank God I was in it because having that huge car around me saved my life. So. And that was the days before seat belts. Two of my friends sitting in the front seat, one of them ended up in the back seat. That was a wild day, but that was instinct, you know, just room. A lot of us operate on instinct, and you know, it's a level of consciousness, but then there's intuition. Now we have a personal experience of the divine when we have intuition. We have a premonition. We have a knowing. We know that someone we love has left the planet, and we don't know how we know, but we know. And then they come and they tell us, and we knew already. Because we're connected at a level that is beyond reason, beyond awareness, that there is a level of intelligence. Reason is wonderful, it has taken us wonderful places, but there is a level of intelligence beyond reason. There's a level of intelligence at this spiritual level that is guiding and directing us on an evolutionary path that is creative and life-giving. Because that is the nature of life, to be creative and life-giving. And so this intuition is taking us on that path. But the problem is we get caught up in the appearances. We get caught up in what people say we're supposed to be doing, what is expected of us, what all the shoulds. You know, people are shoulding all over us. It's true. It's true. So we have to let go of that. We have to let go of all of those shoulds, and we have to say, what is calling me? What is mine to do? And it doesn't have to be earth-shaking, but it can be one thing that we do that contributes to life, that contributes to someone's health and well-being, that contributes to music or mathematics or all kinds of things anything that calls our heart. How do we know what is ours to do? Because it's something we love. The impulsion of creation is love. And so when we are pulled by love, we know that's what we're doing is ours to do. You know, when I got involved in computer programming, it was because it was like a mystery, it was like a puzzle, it was like, you know, figuring stuff out, and I loved it. I didn't love it all night long, but, you know, sometimes. But, you know, it was something that I loved. It was something that called to me. It was something that interested me. It fascinated me, and it continually challenged me, and I loved that. So we don't know what it is that's going to call to us. The only thing that interferes, well, in this book, Ernest describes a continuum. Here's the continuum of life. Here is our spiritual nature: free, joyful, powerful, creative. And here is our human nature, which is, you know, grounded and also filled with doubt, fear, confusion, all of these other things. But the only thing separating us from this other end is our own thoughts, is our own beliefs that we're separate. And if we can believe that we're connected, if we believe that that possibility is absolutely available to us, then it is. And we open to it, but it is a relationship that we are having with ourselves. It is a relationship, and like every relationship, it has to be cared for, it has to be nurtured every day. If you're in a committed relationship, you have to be committed to that relationship every day. You have to let that other person know where you're going and when you'll be back, and you have to let that person know that you love them, and you have to let that person know that they're cared about, and you show that in different ways, like putting the toilet paper on the right way, and you know, all the little things that, you know, that let the person know that you love and appreciate them. And the same thing is true of this spiritual nature of connecting with our spirit, of connecting with that inner self with a capital S. That it's a daily relationship that we open to, that we allow that silence, that opening. We say our prayer, we speak our word, and then we listen, just as we did with Genevieve. We listen for the guidance that comes. And we listen throughout the day. Because it can come on a radio show, it can come on a billboard, it can come on a bumper sticker. The answer that we're looking for is available to us. We just have to keep our eyes open and be aware, and that's why it's important to be present. Present here now. This is where the divine lives, in the eternal now. And so we are present in this now. We are open to this good. We are open to the greater realization of ourselves and our place, because we each have a place. We each have a role to play in this ongoing evolution of life here on planet Earth. And we don't know exactly how far beyond this planet whatever we're putting in consciousness goes. We don't know that it might not be infinite, going into the entire universe. And so what we're thinking is really important. We're thinking the best about each other. We're thinking the best about life. And we're recognizing that heaven on earth is possible if we believe it is so. So maybe we'll practice that. We'll practice believing that heaven on earth is an available possibility for each of us and all of us. Because we are enough. Being ourselves, truly ourselves, is absolutely enough. And we're here to bring that joy and that love and that oneness into that grounded place on earth. And so our affirmation for today is, I remember my divine nature. 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 And so it is.